The future of Auckland's downtown port is back in the spotlight with a high-powered delegation urging the council to pick a new site. The Auckland Council has been treading water on the future of its port since a study it commissioned last year suggested the Firth of Thames or the Manukau Harbour as the best alternatives. The Manukau Harbour is on the other side of the city over by the airport, for those of you who don't know Auckland. Now a delegation including business leader Sir Stephen Tindall has told the council it needs to get cracking. Our Auckland correspondent Todd Niall reports.
Advocates for relocating Auckland's port say it's a matter of when, not if, it will outgrow its current central city location. Today, Warehouse founder Sir Stephen Tindall, developer Richard Didsbury, who was on the Port Future Study Group, and heritage representatives turned up to relaunch the issue at the Council's Finance Committee. Richard Didsbury says where a new port might go needs to be the first decision.
We're not suggesting you're making a decision on time. What we're suggesting, you must get an option of where that port is so that your subsequent councillors will then be able to rest with time.
On the question of when, the Council commissioned Port Future Study put the midpoint in the year 2055 for the container port running out of room. Shane Vuletich of the Stop Stealing Our Harbour group says if the Council simply sits on its hands and waits for that date, it could waste a lot of money.
You can pour a bunch of money into an asset that is coming to the end of its life, and that will be money that you probably won't get back because it will be dedicated to the operation of a port, and you'll probably have undoing costs thereafter to undo all of that stuff that you did to repurpose the waterfront.
There's been debate in the past on whether future port growth should be tackled jointly by Auckland, Port of Tauranga and Northland, an idea put to the delegation by the Mayor, Phil Goff.
In a country of our size, don't you think it would make sense to examine a port location that works for the region and not simply make a unilateral decision?
Richard Didsbury says Auckland has in the past waited a long time for others to make decisions for it, and the council needs to go it alone.
If we could get agreement, that's an optimum outcome. The difficulty you've got politically is your ability to get agreement.
Mr Didsbury says so many other big Auckland decisions would be affected by the location of the port. If Manukau was chosen, for example, the need for freight rail links would affect future passenger rail routes to the nearby airport. The cost of a new port's been guesstimated at $5 to $7 billion, but outside the meeting, Sir Stephen Tindall says there's also upside in closing the existing one.
What will happen is it'll unlock 77 hectares of incredibly valuable land on our beautiful waterfront and enable us to use it for the people as opposed to an industrial use. The other thing is that because of that, there's a lot of value that will be unlocked, which can help pay for a new port.
The council owns Ports of Auckland, but Richard Didsbury says that doesn't mean it has to pay for a new port.
Because it's a commercial activity, which is a profitable activity, it can be funded by the private sector, and there's numerous examples of that all over the world where ports are owned by the private sector.
The council's a month or two away from resuming debate on how to handle the possible relocation of the port. Today's delegation is hoping its call will still be ringing in the council's ears. I tamaki makoro mō te hōtaka o te ahiahi, ko Todd Niall tēnei.